How can you use personality tests to structure your workdays or even look at your career evolution? What can you learn from the way you are wired and other people are wired for your team and hiring, for your communication with your best friend, for me and Jessica, for example, and what can you even learn from it for your romantic relationships? That and so much more is what I am teaching you in today's episode about how you can use a DISC profile and analysis to basically improve your life and communication. Hello, and welcome to the Fast Forward Amy Show, the show where we lift your life and business with simple strategies. I'm Fast Forward Amy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode every Tuesday. There's one thing I did years and years ago, and that one thing changed the course of the rest of my life. The one thing I did is book a 2-hour session with a consultant about my DISC profile. Now, there are many types of personality tests out there. You have DISC, DISC Insights or Insights DISC, you have Lumina Spark, MBTI, 16 personalities. There's all kinds of things, and some of them might be scientifically correct, some of them might not be. I'm here to tell you today, I am not an expert in any of these, although I do want to actually take a course or maybe like get certified in one of these because I think it will help me become an even better coach. But regardless of what everyone says, today I want to share with you what my experience has been with using a DISC test and what my DISC profile is and how I've included that into my work and career, into my relationships, and use it to also even advance my health. I'm going to try and keep it short enough. What I'm going to be doing today is when people listen to this who actually know a lot about this, they're probably going to judge me. I'm going to try to not give a shit about that because I'm going to explain this to you in human words, and I'm just going to tell you what my experience has been. So I might make a few mistakes or I might overgeneralize today, but I don't know, I'm going to make it fun regardless. So let's have a go at it, okay? So I'm going to be talking about this personality test and how it's impacted my life and how it can impact yours too, maybe if you recognize some of these things. And if you want to know more about this, know that we always link the description of the episode, the episode in the description so you can find the recap of the examples and also the link to the test, because we have created an option for you to take a test like this, and you can find that through fastforwardamy.com/DISC. I'll repeat it at the end of the episode, but just know in general, you can always find all of the articles of our podcast episodes through fastforwardamy.com/the number of this episode, okay? So that's how you can always find it back easily. I also want to challenge you, if you are listening to the podcast right now, you might be cooking, you might be walking, you might be cleaning, I don't know, but snap a selfie, not a selfie, although that would be a great word too. Snap a selfie, put it on your Instagram stories and tag me and tell me, or like a screenshot of the episode and tell me you're listening to the episode and tell me what you're doing as you're listening, okay? Because the stats of the podcast tell me where you're tuning in from, how long you're listening, like in which languages or countries you are tuning in from and all of that, but I can't see what you're actually doing. And that is a stat that would really float my boat. Is that the way? No? Float my boat? I don't currently have a boat, but it would float me as fuck. Okay, so before we get started, this is my DISC profile. Now, I forgot as I was prepping this episode that I was gonna keep it clean, so I wrote on it. You can see this in the video of the episode. So my DISC profile is quite a lot of what we would call the dominance color. There's even more of the influence color. So dominance is what tends to be described as a red color, but not all tests do it like this. So for example, if you do Lumina Spark and not DISC, it's the same colors but different words. On the other hand, sometimes it might be different colors, different words. So please don't focus too much on the colors, but focus more on the words, okay? So this is more the dominance color for me, or what my dad likes to call more the driver color or trait. I have a lot more, like even more of the influence trait. The stability trait is very, very low in my character traits. And then what's it called? Conformity or conscientiousness is what we describe as the blue color. I have some of that. If I compare this to my team, so maybe you've done this like this before, I know that my entire Fast Forward team, they have a lot of dominance. And what really psychs me up about that is the fact that in a meeting, I don't have to like grab the steering wheel, or I don't have to really ask people to push back that much. I know they will always all really go after the results they want. They have a really strong mind, and I like being surrounded by people who like know what they want and who will actually push back and bulldoze their back. So my entire team is actually very dominant, which is fun, and I like to look at it as like, and I can all weave it together through some of the influence I have. Now, that is also what I'm going to be doing in this episode. I'm going to be talking about the work stuff, the relationship stuff and communication, and the health stuff. I'm going to talk first about how this has impacted me in my work environment. So before I do that, let me explain to you what the 4 traits are. I have a little board here that my cousin created for me. My cousin Lynn, apparently I talk about her a lot in the podcast. She has also worked as my HR consultant at times and just my life consultant. And we are just really good friends. So she created this little board for myself and my team to explain this. And basically you have dominance, influence, stability, and conformity, right? This is in Dutch, so you might not understand it, but I want to just quickly explain what the main drivers and things are that people who have a lot of these traits express. So what's important to know, as far as I've gathered it, because again, I'm not an expert, is that you are not a color. I think it's more like you express yourself more in a type of color. Also, every personality coach and expert who is going to text me after this episode to tell me all the things I did wrong, please don't. Just whatever. I created a podcast. The only way you're allowed to tell me what I did wrong is if you created a podcast about this too and it's better. Or whatever, you know? I just hate being criticized by people who haven't done it. It's like people are so quick to criticize people who make Instagram stories, but they're not making Instagram stories. Newsflash, you're usually not going to get criticized by someone who's doing better than you are. Boom. By the way, what I just said, have a lot of the dominance trait in me. Now, also a lot of the influence trait. And the influence trait is one of the drivers there is getting appreciated and doing it with everyone together. Now, what one of the traits of that person is also, what they don't like, or what's a really like big pitfall, is getting rejected. Or being naive, too much talking, fast talking. Oops. What did I just say? I was just talking about the fact that I don't like getting criticized, and I already disclaimed it so that I cannot get criticized after publishing this episode. This is a typical thing for me to do because of the yellowness or the influence, obviously. At the same time, I am dominant enough to be like, I want to get results and I really don't want to fail. So both of those dominating personality traits, I just showed you an example of what that looks like for me. I want everyone to love this podcast episode. I want everyone to take this test that I linked up for you. And I want this episode to do really, really good. I want to get results, and I want everyone to like it, and I want everyone to get in on it. That is just like, it's my character in a nutshell, basically. Yeah, the conformity, or the blue, then is more, for me, it expresses itself more in like methodical working. Funnily enough, in my team, I have the most of the conformity or conscientiousness. And when I look at that, I think of my oldest brother, for example, and I know he likes things done in a certain way that is right. On the other hand, you have the stability. My mom is more of like a stability person, although I'm not supposed to generalize, but whatever. And they like a lot of like security. They like, as it says, stability in a caring way. And a really good way of looking at this, and I came across that as I was looking it up, is you have the 4 traits, and you can look at it as a let's do it now is the red or the dominance trait. You see how I'm struggling with the colors, right? So let's do it now is something that my dad is very much like that. My dad's like, let's do it now. I want to hit the results right now. Zero patience. They like want to get it all done now. Now the influence is more, let's do it together. And then we have the stability is like, let's do it in a caring way so that no one like feels left out, or, you know, that we've thought about everything. We can keep some harmony. And then the conscientiousness or conformity is more about, let's do it right. We've set up a process. Let's not deviate from the process because we want to do it in the right way, even when that means not necessarily doing the right things or getting the right result. People with a lot of dominance will most of the time care less about doing it the right way as long as they hit the results. So I am generalizing. What is really important to know, by the way, is none of it is good or bad. Usually it only turns bad when you are overstressed and going over your limits. Then you might start to see the dark side of all of these traits. Now, obviously, this is something a lot of people study for a really long time. I'm slowing down my voice because I just read that I talk too much. And it's a whole study, and I'm only going to talk about this from my experience. And what I've noticed is that I have different roles in my company. One of those is being the CEO. Now, the CEO is a typical driver or a dominance thing to do. Like, you have to make a lot of decisions. You got to be focused on the results. Got to keep that vision for your team. It's very result oriented. And I have a lot of that. But I also have a lot of the influence. And what I started noticing is that my role as a creator and as a coach is more of the influence piece. So 2 years ago, when I was very busy in my business, I started noticing that I kind of needed a passion project. And that's when I created my podcast. Actually, 3 years ago. It just took me a really long time to publish the podcast. So I saw back then that I didn't only crave getting results in my business and making money and blah, 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 but I also really wanted to be able to create. And that was that influence piece speaking. So I created the podcast without really knowing where it was going to lead me, but I really just wanted to do the fun thing and create that thing. Recently, I've seen this same thing coming back. I have had a period where I was in a lot of meetings and doing so many things all at once and just results, which kind of feels for me like a little bit of the masculine energy, and I was craving more of that softness and that creative side, and I felt like I wasn't getting inspired anymore because I didn't allow space for that. And all of that is something that for me can be linked to my disc profile. And right now I've created more days where I know I need to do admin stuff and stay true to the process, which is more of the conformity for me. I have created that into a very small piece of my work week because I really, really don't like doing it, and I outsource most of that. My mornings are more the influence mornings where I get to create and really put new things out there. And then my afternoons, I'm more okay, I'll step into my CEO role. But so the coach and the creator versus the CEO are different types of roles for me. So I've really used that profile to look at how I would like to structure my days. And the way I did it is by analyzing what wasn't working. So I used this time tracking device and I color-coded what I was doing. So I would color-code, for example, admin as blue. I would color-code strategy meetings and decision-making as red. And then I would color-code lives and podcasts and creating content and quotes as yellow. And I would track my days. And I saw that on the days that I did a lot of things, there was a lot of different colors, I would be really sad at the end of the day. On the days that there was too many people or too much blue, problem solving, practical shit is what it feels like for me. It's not necessarily that, but I just don't like being very reactive, working in a reactive way. When I see too many of those things, practical things, I'm also sad. But when I have days where I get to switch between the strategy or the result things and the influence things, I am really happy at the end of the day. So I looked at that after time tracking, and then I drew my conclusions and was okay, so Tuesdays are gonna be my creative days. I am going to mostly stop with my morning check-in meetings with the team and stuff because I just know that it pushes my brain to one side and it's really difficult for me to get back into creation mode. And some people are morning people, some people are night people. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you to do what works for you. And throughout the past couple of years, I've always, every few months, I have to realign what is working, what isn't working. My business changes, my team changes, but it is really important that you look at this and look at where you are losing too much energy, where it's flowing out of your body. It probably has to do with this, that you're not working in an aligned way. For some people, it also just means that they need less time to work, but for me, it means... We've laughed about this a lot with my team, but often when I am actually on a trip or on a vacation, communication with me is easier. We have more sales and I get more done because I'm more by myself and I get to have more white space. And because I have so much white space, when I do something, it's spot on instead of me being in the busyness where I don't really thrive. So yeah, that's how I've used it to schedule my work days, my work weeks. I work with themes for my work days, so I will much rather do one thing for an entire day. So for example, Thursdays are my coaching days. They've been like that for 3 or 4 years. They will stay like that for a really long time. On Thursdays, I coach. For a while, I was not adhering to my own rule set and also adding meetings on those days, which is a different type of skill set for me. And I felt that it was really dragging down the quality of my coaching, and more than that, just my general happiness and white space, which felt disaligned. So I've brought that back, and it is always an exercise to keep those boundaries in the calendar. So you can't expect other people to respect your boundaries or your calendar if you don't know what they are. So maybe time track, maybe color code, do a disc test, something in along those lines. If you've done it years ago, do a new one because it might have changed. And look at how you can really structure your work days in that way. You don't have to structure them like me, but what I like is creative mornings and focused afternoons of like strategy. And I also just love full days of creation. Honestly, there's nothing I like more than I like being in a plane, like on a plane, on top of a plane. I don't know, because there's no Wi-Fi. You can't do anything else, and I always have so many ideas. I've written so many starts of books on a plane. It's great. Okay, now work-wise, that's clear what I've used to do that. It also means being balanced between working, like looking at hitting targets, and for example, creating. For example, someone on my team has a lot of the dominance, and she loves hitting sales targets, but she also loves the human side of things and like the stability and like getting everything arranged. And that's a little bit of a more of a stability piece that pops up. So she likes switching between those. So for you, it might be that in your work, you don't just need one role, but 2 roles might fit you better. Just an idea to pop that out there. Too much of something is never good. Like for me, I love coaching, but if I'm coaching every day, I burn out. So I only coach on Thursdays. Okay, so for communication and relationships, I've learned that you will tend to choose friendships with people who have a profile that is much like yours. So for example, my best friend Jessica and I, we have a profile that is much the same, although I have more influence where she has more dominance, and I have more conformity where she has more stability. So we're kind of like flip, but still overarching, like what we have a lot of and what we don't have a lot of is the same. That makes us great best friends, and it makes us terrible business partners because we are so much alike. Because work-wise, it would have made more sense if we would have partnered with someone who's complementary. So people always ask us, give us tips on how you work together. We're like, ugh, don't be like us. We have done a great job at that through lots of love and care, and always committing to the result that we want it to be a win-win, and we respect each other so much. But practically, it would have been great if one of us was organized. But that's not in our personality types. I'm joking a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. So for relationships, apparently, it's kind of the same as like with the business partners thing, that it makes more sense to have a partner who has a little bit of complementarity. But I feel like it shouldn't be too far apart either. I've been in a relationship with someone who's like the polar opposite. After a while, when the hormones die down, that's also not good. So again, I'm not saying what you should do. I am saying it might be fun to look at it and definitely get coached by it through it. So for example, you can get coaching with your partner or with your team so you can start understanding each other more. And that has really helped us in Team Fast Forward. Is not like for me, the value and what it was years ago when I did it for the first time was not in understanding myself. It was in understanding why other people didn't care as much about the same things I did, and learning where they were taking off from. So my dad and I, we're best friends. We are 2 hands on 1 belly, is what we say in Belgium. And we're very much alike also in this. Downside is sometimes he assumes I am exactly the same and I will do the same thing, but we do have some differences of things we care more about. So for example, for me, the creativity part is bigger. But my mom and I are very different. And by the way, I've also created an episode about the love languages. Maybe the team can also look up that number and like sign it over to me like the bat signal of so what the number of that episode is. But what I wanted to say is doing this really helped me to understand why my mom has a different type of drive than I do. And my oldest brother, for example, as well, and then my other brother too. It really just helped me understand the family dynamics. And now when I start dating someone, I will ask them to fill out a DISC test. In the hiring process, it is one of the first things we do is we ask people to fill out a DISC test. It shouldn't be a test necessarily, it's more like a questionnaire. It just really helps me to get where people are coming from. And in communication sessions with our team, it's helped us so much in understanding why is someone triggered, why do they care more about a certain thing than someone else. So for example, this morning I was prepping these episodes, and Robin, who works for me, she has a lot of dominance and a lot of stability, which is kind of counterintuitive. And I want to change a shit ton of things. And I haven't told Robin. I'm full of ideas. And I'm gonna change all the things. But I didn't tell Robin this morning because I know that it would really throw her off. But I know that she wants to hit the results. So when I give her, she's pretending she's crying right now. When I give her the context of which results we're gonna get, why we're making certain decisions, and I take off the time pressure and I can discuss it with her in a way that we know we're gonna do this together in a caring way, and it's not gonna be something extreme like blah, which my intuition would do, then she's gonna be so on board. She's like a train who is never gonna lose sight of her destination. She's a dog with a bone. But I shouldn't throw her off guard and take away all of the stability she knows. Is it too personal that I just said all of that? So that's how I know how I should communicate to a certain person. Whereas I know maybe other people on my team, I can just overwhelm and they're like, yay, but they might also just forget what they were doing beforehand. So it's really about learning to understand other people like this. And I think in looking for a partner for life, it could also really help to know that, someone needs to remember to put the garbage bins outside, probably. I don't know. Honestly, about relationships, I can't tell you. But in my team, I can tell you that it's, for me, I feel like through learning how to understand each other better, right now, I have a team that I could go to war with, and there is so much trust, and that has been fostered through the respect that we have for each other, in listening to each other, in learning how the other person works and communicates, and in really, really learning what is important for the other person, because otherwise you're stepping on each other's toes and disrespecting without knowing it. So yeah, this really helps. And then for my health, I think so. I do have some of the conformity and conscientiousness, and I think it's, for me, it shows up in methodical working. I like to be done I like things done in a certain way. So the pitfalls for me, work-wise, are that when I do one thing in my business, in my one business, and we're gonna do it in my other business, sometimes I can stick to the thing like too rigidly, or I'm like, we're gonna do it exactly the same. But you don't have to do everything exactly the same way. Sometimes I get too focused on the process and I lose sight of the results. And this is something that a lot of my clients do as well, which is why they like getting coached by me, because I keep their eyes on the prize. Every month we do a focus and goals session in BFE. By the way, talking about BFE, I know what a challenge it can be to stay focused on your goals, and that right now you might be like, okay, so the typical entrepreneurial profile is very result oriented, but I'm missing some of that. Or sometimes I just need extra accountability because I have these really big goals, but I can't seem to put myself to actually do them, or to get myself to actually do them, or I don't have a lot of time and I need to know what I should be doing or not because I tend to lose myself in the process. Then the BFE might be really great for you, because we provide so much support so that we can also support you in these different profiles. So our program was created partly, almost no one knows this. It's pretty cool, but we have looked at all of these different personality traits and we've created things so that we can support everyone. So for example, we've added little mastermind coffee chats for the people who want to do it together in a very caring way. We have created brainstorm content things for the people who want to do it together and who want to create a lot, but it's also very result oriented, because maybe you don't want to spend time on the live coaching calls, but you do just want to get what you need from the modules, and it's all like very short and sweet and to the point. And maybe you need a lot of structure and you want to really tick off all the boxes, then you are someone who will follow everything to a T both the modules as well as the lives during 6 months. So there's so much more that I'm not telling you, because that's one thing I'm not giving away, is the magic of how we have structured our program so that we can serve everyone perfectly. But do know that we have implemented this into our coaching program. And to be honest, I don't think many coaches have done that. So if you've been wanting to get coached by me and some of this is hitting home and you want to stay focused on your goals and your results the upcoming months, sign up for the BFE. You can find out more about it through fastforwardamy.com/elevator. I would love to be your coach. I would love to have you there. And it's just going to change the course of the rest of your life. It is called the Business Freedom Elevator. So your freedom might not be my way of looking at freedom. It might not be traveling as much as I want to travel and tend to travel. It might be that you want to, a travel example could be maybe you want to take your mom with you on a vacation. Maybe you just want to wake up late. Maybe you want to never be tied down to a client, but do everything in a scalable way without working by the hour. I don't know what freedom means to you, but if you want to create it together with me, that would be amazing. And I'd love to welcome you in the elevator. So it's linked in the description. I completely lost track of what I was saying because I'm so enthusiastic about my program. I forgot about the structure. I do know where I wanted to go was tell you about my health. So although I am more of like, I want to get results and blah, blah, I know that motivation is like an ebb and flow thing. I won't always stay motivated. So I've created a structure and an adherence like the BFE does for your business. I've done that for my health and my body because I've been really working on improving my health. Last year I had a little scare where I thought I was going to get diabetes, and it came after a while of me already really working on my health, but it was just not working. I kept gaining weight. It had to do with stress and some other personal stuff. But I really decided to take ownership and to change stuff. And I was like, you know what, rain or shine, I got to work out 4 times a week, do strength training, because that's what worked for me. And I have a personal trainer. And every week at the same time, she's here. Mondays, 11, Tuesdays, 8, Thursdays, 8, Fridays, 1. That structure works well for me. I don't thrive when we change the structure. I like working in a very methodical way. I like doing the same thing when I wake up. I like waking up at the same time every day. A lot of people think when you become an entrepreneur, it's great because you get to choose everything. After a while, you'll probably discover that it's not the case and you might crave some structure. It might mean that you need more planning, more of the methodical things. And I also know that when I get stressed, some of these things get heightened. And for me, that means when I get stressed, I know I need more control. And I get to create that through the conformity thing, through creating structures, to creating a planning in a certain way. Again, I might be explaining this in the wrong way, but this is what works for me, and I just know what I will crave more of. So, for example, yesterday I felt highly stressed when I came home because some things happened, and I texted my personal assistant to let her know, and I was like, I'm going to need extra support this week, and this is what that looks like for me. Old me, by the way, would have just retreated and been like, now I'm a grumpy bitch, and I don't want to tell anyone why, but now I know that it helps for someone who wants to do things in a very caring way who works for me, or with me, that she knows where I'm coming from. But result-oriented me would just be like, just get me vegetables. And it will be easier for someone who wants to create stability and harmony to get where I'm coming from. And then they might not care about the result, but they will care about how we're going to get there. So these are just different things I've used. I don't know. Was this interesting? Yeah? Yeah, okay. So ridiculous that I keep asking that at the end of episodes and we just keep it in the episode. I'm not ashamed. You are. No, wait, that's wrong. So if you want to take your own test, we've linked a bunch of resources through fastforwardamy.com/disc. I highly recommend you do this. It's just so interesting. I have to say I've learned the most up until this point from the Lumina Spark tests because they go deeper in explaining the different traits to you. We'd love to know what you think about this. Let me know. Tag me in your Instagram stories or send me a DM to let me know. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, I always forget to ask this, but can you please leave a review? Leave us 5 stars or whatever, if it's 5 stars. Don't leave us 5 stars if there are 10 stars in total. Give us the maximum stars if you like this episode. And I would love just a one sentence about if you like the podcast. For you, it just takes 1 minute. For us, it makes a world of difference because we work so hard on this podcast, and it would give Robin that result-oriented hit, dopamine hit. Okay. See you next week, Tuesday. Tag me on Instagram if you liked it, and please leave us a review. It is greatly appreciated, and then I know we need to keep going because we love to offer this to you for free. Okay. Bye. Oh, and by the way, I talked about that love languages episode, which is kind of the same thing, but you can discover what your love languages are. And that is episode 86 of the Fast Forward Amy Show. So go and have a listen if you like these types of podcasts.